I'm back and I'm on time, something my father can never say. Fate was an incredible crossover. It was literally one of the best crossovers in Grand Summoner's history. And with the units, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the footprint these guys are going to leave will be massive. But just like with every crossover, there are some top tiers, there's some godly units, and there's also maybe a few stinkers in there. But doing a tier list for Fate. However, it's different. We aren't just ranking them from worst to best, even though we technically still are. We also are going to be grouping them a bit more. The reason why I'm doing it this way instead of doing it the usual way is because we have so many units. But hey, before this tier list gets started, by all means, leave who your favorite crossover unit is from Fate. Plus, if you want to, like the video, it helps me out. I'm going to be going in a random order too. We're not going to be picking anything specific, so let's start with one of the biggest heavy hitters from this crossover, Summer Miyu. Giving herself 200 arc age at every battle start. She is literally the other J counterpart, you would say. Gray was the first, you had J, and now you have Summer Miyu. Summer Miyu is a lot more readily accessible too, and take that with a grain of salt because she's currently available with the Fate crossover. Of course, the Fate crossover is about to leave, but compared to J, which was only available in a limited time lottery banner pretty much, it makes it where Summer Miyu is much more sought after than how it was in JP, I would say. Since in JP, J had his own banner and everything by now, but in Global, of course, that hasn't happened yet. Not to mention, too, her team play is incredible. Like, later on, one of the best teams in the game with her is going to be, like, Hoka, Holy Knight Roy, and Summer Miyu, and then, like, Shiro. Of course, you can use J in place of Summer Miyu in that team, but if you don't care about using Mono Water, actually, Summer Miyu is unironically better in that situation. You can just two-man Crest Palaces with her and someone else, or if you got really lucky and you wound up getting two Summer Miyus, you could literally keep both of them and use both of them on the same team and make that be like your crest farming team, and it would actually work. Of course, her herself can do it. You don't need to have dupes or anything, but yeah, she's incredible. Absolutely amazing, and she is going into our GOAT tier. She will be the first one. Let's talk about her counterpart, regular Miyu, which was free technically this time around. You could have used your crossover ticket for her. Very strong unit here. Still really good, even nowadays. Pretty much has all the stuff that she did before, but just better. There's nothing really wrong with Miyu, and I'm gonna say Miyu is top tier due to her uses in raid nuke compositions and nuking compositions as well, along with also being just an insane nuker on her own. Rin and Luvia, easily a GOAT tier. Let's talk about Summer Ilia, which I kind of have mixed feelings about this unit, but overall, they're positive. Summer Ilia is going to be good on literally any magic team. You could also use her on any team in the game where you're fighting a boss that's inflicting tons of burns to you, since she does have the burn res on the true art, plus she also has burn cleanse. One thing I really love about her is that you can use this unit alongside like someone else who has a massive magic res down, stack that up and just instantly get like this 200+% magic res down on an enemy. So your damage is going to go through the roof with just two characters. I guess the worst part about her to an extent, she's not that fast. Like in nuke comps, you absolutely could use her, but the fact that her skill is arts over time and not burst, a little bit sucky, right? Just a tiny bit. Another thing is that it is definitely going to be hard to slot her into harder content because she doesn't really deal an insane amount of damage. She doesn't have defense ignore, she doesn't have built-in crit or anything of that sort, so you have to kind of give that to her, and in certain situations you may not be able to give that to her, which means you'll have to turn to a character that kind of has that already built in and is a bit more better at being like the main DPS unit. But in terms of being like a sub character on the team, or in terms of being just a really good supporter when it comes to raid nuking or just regular nuking, throwing Summer Ilia on the team is never a bad option. She is going to be an incredible pickup for you and is definitely going to be really good. So we put her in top tier for that reason. The other free character that was from this crossover, you could have selected her with your ticket, and she's an arch-genner. She has crit rate, she has a really good nuke on that super art, and she did get buffed with this crossover just like all the old Fate characters, and yeah, she's still just as strong. If she had better slots, she would easily be one of the better characters in the game. I'm going to say Ilia is probably in this top tier, but I kind of want to put her in strong just for the simple fact that I feel like it changes depending on where you're at in the game. But you know what? I'm going to put her in top tier because she actually stacks Archgen with one of the other characters that we have in the game, which is insanely good, and a lot of you guys probably should have picked her from your ticket, and that is Chloe. Chloe is the break character. When it comes to break support, there's no one better than Chloe. Break power up, massive break values on every single thing in her kit, break res down, extremely good freaking slots. Like, dude, are you serious here? It's wild how good this character is and how good she's going to be. She's literally only going to get better. We just had a new Platina come out in JP, and my God, if you have that Platina alongside this Chloe, holy, it's gonna be dumb. Not to mention, you know, all the other breakers we have in the game right now, they're just insane with this character. The crazy part is about it too is that you don't even need other breakers on your team. If you wanted to, you could go into a fight where Chloe is the only breaker and it would work. Or the thing is that she technically turns everyone else into breakers to an extent. She lowers break res, she's buffing up their break values by quite a substantial amount, especially in this new day and age in GS where a lot of new bosses come out where you need to break these guys. If you don't break them, you kind of just get cuffed. The worst part about this unit is that she is type E Archshin, and there's so many Archshinners in the game right now that are type E Archshin, and that really sucks. However, for Chloe, it doesn't really matter, man. That one negative doesn't outweigh all the positives for this character, and she is easily a GOAT. It's kind of crazy. Every fire unit from this crossover is insanely good. Let's talk about a unit that I think is probably on the weaker end, Summer Sakura. Summer Sakura has a kit that is definitely passable. I feel like part of her kit is just kind of whatever, and that's mainly the whole blinding thing. If you guys been watching my channel for a while, you know that I don't really like units that rely on status effects. The reason for that isn't because I don't like status effect characters, it's because they are kind of obsolete at in-game. So many bosses just negate status effects or they're completely immune to it. Of course, there's the occasional boss where you need to poison or you may need to burn or whatever else, but those are very few and far between, which is a really big negative because most of her kit is kind of based around this and the rest of the kit is mainly based around buffing up damage or mitigating damage, surprisingly. The thing is too, I feel like you can kind of do this leader support team comp going on here where you use like Sakura, Demon Lord Rimuru, and Gamma. You make Demon Lord Rimuru leader and you have two characters like supercharging this one unit. And if you want to increase this even more, you could use someone like Momon on the team to deal crazy amounts of damage with Demon Lord Rimuru. Of course, that's one team in the game, and you can technically do this with any like dark attacker in the game or just any magic damage dealer, really, and it's gonna be really wild. However, I feel like this character isn't leaving as much of a mark as someone like Momon did. There will be situations where you maybe turn to Summer Sakura over Momon when it comes to buffing up damage, but it's not gonna happen all the time. And on her own, I feel like she's kind of just a little bit too, she doesn't do enough for me. You have 20 arc gauge on the art, not even 30. The magic res is good, and the fact that she relies on blind, you know, I'm a little bit so-so with it. The passive is insane though, and if you can make the kit work, she's actually really good. I'm not gonna put her in the bottom, I'm gonna put her more so in the strong tier. Summer, Luvia, and Rin. This unit is absolutely a GOAT. This character is now the nuke meta. Outside of nuking, she's not really insanely sought after. She can definitely be used here and there. She has a physical res buff on that art, but that's really not enough when it comes to sustain. However, majority of content in this game is nukeable, which means majority of content in this game, you could use Summer, Luvia, and Rin in. I will say this character is a bit reliant though on equips. If you have Divine Arachnids tiers, or I think even regular Arachnids tiers will work here, you're golden. If you don't have this though, this character may not perform nowhere near as well as you want her to. But I'm considering you have this equipped, so because of that, we're putting her in the GOAT tier. Summer, Chloe. The new light character that's on the block, crazy support on this unit, crazy damage ups, lots of healing as well, really good stuff here. A lot of people are calling this character the new Haruto, and to an extent she kind of is. However, that archetype of character isn't necessarily sought after too much anymore, which I explained this a little bit whenever I did her Should You Summon, and a lot of people didn't really like it, but I mean, it's kind of how the current day and age of the meta is. We don't always need a healer just because we have so many ways to mitigate damage or provide a barrier of some kind to where we aren't going to take damage, or even now we have characters coming out that give you a barrier plus heal you, so you don't have to worry about anything. And just giving healing plus Archshin and a damage buff isn't as crazy as it was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Another issue with Summer Chloe is the fact that she is a type E Archshinner, which means she directly conflicts with every other type E Archshinner from her crossover, and she conflicts with one of the strongest units in the game, which is Hoka. And unfortunately, Hoka is like the definitive support right now. If you have Hoka, you're going to use Hoka over Summer Chloe every single day of the week. And I would say out of everybody, she's definitely one of the standout characters, but I think she's kind of at the end of this GOAT tier, kind of hovering into top tier. This type of character is still insanely good and still absolutely worth having, but is definitely not the be all and end all that a character like this would have been 2 years ago. A character that is like that now, though, that is the be all and end all, is Shiro Emia. Easily the best character from this crossover. Shiro Emia is hands down the meta at the moment. And in game, one of the strongest things you can do is throw up a barrier plus give your entire team damage mitigation and just be like, we're not taking damage anymore. And if you do take damage, guess what? I have a 5-star support, Lisa Smart Skirt, and heal. Or I have a 4-star heal. I have Blessed Necklaces on my team. I have Puck's Pouch. You're not hurting my team. That is one of the strongest abilities in the entire game. Not to mention too, the barrier on Shiro is really freaking large for him being a barrier mitigation tank. It's at 15 hundo. That is wild. On top of the damage mitigation he provides passively with his Unlimited Blade Works stage effect. The worst part about Shiro is that he's a bit slow. He does have to get into Unlimited Blade Works with that super art, but if you're using his shoe weapon on him, he's able to really accelerate that. But then you have to wait for the animation, which takes freaking forever, which sucks because you can't access your art and stuff like that instantly because you're stuck in this animation. But I don't consider it as much of a negative as some other people do. Now, of everyone from this crossover, if you want to know a unit that you must have, it would be Shiro. Like, I am really debating on putting a whole nother tier on this list right now and just naming it Shiro because it's literally how it is. He is the meta in Grand Summoners. One of the other new damage dealers we got was Bazette. Bazette's actually really cool. She has the same mechanic as Roy does, where if you use your art and stuff like that during an enemy's art, you increase your damage quite a bit. She's not as reliant on it as someone like Roy. She's giving herself 250% damage up at base. Another thing too is that she's able to reset her defense equip CT on her true art, which is kind of disgusting since in theory you can have 100% uptime defense equip on her. I guess the main issue with her is that she doesn't really offer much else apart from the damage and that one kind of niche of having 100% uptime on defense equip. But I think that has a very strong kind of play style in the game. The only thing that really sucks about her is that if a boss has iframes when they do their art, then her super art is kind of just negated, you know? However, everything else with Bazette is absolutely insane. She's a godly character that has so much potential when it comes to being a damage dealer. I kind of want to put her in top tier, to be honest. I kind of want to put her also at like the top of strong, but I think she's going to be at top tier. I think she's going to be kind of towards the end of top tier. And finally, we have Saber Alter, which, as always, Saber Alter is a DPS / situational unit. I'm going to rearrange this list real quick, though, before I, really give my final thoughts on it. There we go. Now it's all rearranged. This is how I feel when it comes to the Fate crossover, which, by the way, was an absolute banger of a crossover. Everyone here is insanely strong. Just because I put Saber Alter in DPS / situational doesn't mean that she's a bad character. She's one of the strongest DPSs in the game. Same thing with Sakura being in the strong tier. Very strong unit here, along with everyone else. If you want to know the main ones to get, though, of course, you're looking at the GOAT tier here, especially the first, I would say, 4 you're really looking at. These guys are going to be in the meta for quite a while, and all are going to be insanely strong. And yeah, what a crossover, man. I am so happy how they did Fate with this summer crossover. I'm glad we got it back, but it just sucks because we didn't get Gilgamesh. Like, where's Gilgamesh, man? Maybe if we get a part 3 of Fate eventually, maybe that might happen. We'll finally get Gilgamesh in the game. We need him. We need Gilgamesh. We need Ku. Where are they at, bro? Either way, though, that's going to be it for this one, man. Thank you all for coming out. It's been Boy P. If you enjoyed this video, have me check out either one of the other videos published right now. Great content, guarantee you love them. Oh, and one more thing before you leave, don't forget to drink water.